What's in a title? Many would say everything, especially when you consider a recently released Columbia Records internal memorandum dated November 3, 1969, which revealed that the original title for what became Bitches Brew was going to be Listen to This. Pretty impressive. And it was going to be a single album release. Critical reaction was initially mixed, but whenever the subjective impression it made on critics at the time, one thing was abundantly clear. Miles Davis had crossed the Rubicon, effectively cutting ties with his acoustic past. So tonight, we're discussing Bitches Brew by none other than Miles Davis, a Columbia Records released and recorded August 19 through 21 and November 19 through 28, 1969.
Cue the music. Doo-doo.
So let's have some interaction here.
Dad, that was a banging opener.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I
Thanks
mean
for
it.
doing it.
Yeah, sure, yes. It gets us started off right in the right mood because we know that the album is number 9 on our list. We're counting down. It's number 9. It was going to be called something else. I'm not sure I like the old title. I like the title that it is.
Mm-hmm. It really fits with the music selection, doesn't it?
It pretty does. Yeah.
And the more I dug into the album and the information behind the album, the brew part of it definitely settles in pretty well. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that as information comes and our discussion comes.
Yeah.
So as we usually have done, let's kick off with some audio clips because I think it's going to be important to understand for the new listeners to jazz music and for those of you who are big fans or non-fans of this music to understand what our discussion is going to be about tonight. We'll definitely cue the music now. Dad, let's start with your clip.
The third track on this album, John McLaughlin, starting at 2:15, and hey, you can play it for 3 or 4 minutes if you want.
Yeah, the song John McLaughlin is actually the shortest song on the two record release.
Weighing in at a mere 4 minutes and 20 seconds.
That's right.
That's like the little kid brother tagging along with the rest of these songs. So without further ado, John McLaughlin, 2:15. It's just starting to build, so I don't want to cut it off, but do tell, Dad.
Definitely. Well, I like this because it is a good start, an overview of what this album is going to be like through the rest of the tracks. Plus, there's a variety of the instruments coming through, and it sets a groove, a pattern that is recognizable, would you say? And the flow of it is rather smooth. What's that word? Improvisational. Yeah, there we go. I'm having a little bit of a slip here, but we got it. So, I like this track, but there's several others. Obviously, the tracks you guys have, I'm really eager to hear what you guys have to play. So,
So
Yeah.
let me ask you, what instrument stood out to you in your clip there?
well, of course, I like the rhythm section,
Okay. Yeah.
and it sets a really good beat and rhythm.
Yeah.
And it's not overpowering, but you know it's back there. So that stands out. Of course, is that a very
It's a
sax
bass clarinet is
bass
what it is.
clarinet?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That comes through pretty clearly, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah,
Benny Maupin, baby.
Yep.
Listening to that, I'm like, oh yes. But Dad, you commented it's the rhythm section. You know, at this turn, Miles was looking to have multiple bass players, sometimes a acoustic bass and an electric. And in this case, he has Don Elias and Juma Santos. So he's got, or Jim Riley, I guess is what they say. His American name is. But two percussionists back there driving it, driving that train. Matt, what about you? What clip did you want to hear?
I'm going to do Miles Runs the Voodoo Down. Please start that right around 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And the reason that I picked this clip, and much like I think the reason Dad picked his clip, or what I got out of Dad's clip anyways, was that it's the bass clarinet. I just wanted to highlight how Benny and Miles kind of mirror each other. So yeah, just play my clip. I'll talk about it a little bit more.
Here we go. I got to shut it sometime.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Wow.
There's almost a call and response there where Miles plays something and then Benny comes in and plays something either very similar or the exact same thing down a couple octaves on his register for that bass clarinet. I just loved it so much, the interaction between him and Benny pretty much throughout the whole album. You know, it's interesting. It's a Miles album, but there was so many things to concentrate on for me. And I always found that I was concentrating on that bass clarinet for some reason. Maybe it's my love for Courtney Pine that really draws me in bass clarinet. But that's what I kept hearing anyway. So
I can picture you two guys getting your trumpets out and trying to play that music. That'd be so sweet.
You know, it's interesting that you said that because I was sitting here today listening to it again, and I'm thinking he's not really playing hard licks. He's not really playing tough stuff. But it's the timing, it's the attack, it's the way that he does it. And for all of those of you who are just joining us, maybe this is your very first episode. I was not a Miles Davis fan when we started this journey, but I come full circle to pretty much love and respect the man and his work and what he did.
You know, 91 weeks ago, I was on the bandwagon. He's overrated.
Yeah.
But he's the greatest musician ever. Well, he's not. Maybe he was a great band leader and put together some great bands. And he took everybody's music and made it Miles Davis's music. Everybody showed up with the book. Coltrane, Wayne showed up with his book of music. McLaughlin shows up with his. Everybody shows up, and it becomes Wayne's music or Miles's music. So I'm with you, Matt. 91 weeks later, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
The man could blow a horn.
And I was thinking, and this is just funny that you said that, Dad, because I was thinking I could probably do it. I probably could. Lay some tracks down with the drums and lay some tracks down with the electric piano and then come up with some reverb stuff on the trumpet mic. And I mean, but then again, could I? It's just, you watch Tiger Woods swing a golf club and you think I could do that. You watch Michael Jordan shoot a free throw and you think, oh, I could do that. And
Steph Curry in a 3-point. Oh man, that looks really easy.
There you go. And it's just, I mean, I don't know. We've said it a million times. We get the gold at the end of the rainbow, and this is the gold right here, baby.
Yeah,
this is it.
Yeah, it is.
So I want to hear your clip.
I wanted to hear Spanish Key because of Wayne Shorter stepping in on the soprano saxophone. So I'm going to start mine at about 5:20, and about 20 seconds in, Wayne comes in. But there's a segment in here that gets quiet for a moment. I want to talk about that as well. I have a hard time shutting that off because Wayne is just, it's not that he plays any wrong notes, but it almost sounds as if the notes don't really belong in the key signature, but that they really do belong. His way of approaching this was so different. The silence there, I want to talk about in my weekend music later, but we had a jazz workshop with Paul Deemer last night. And he talked about the band getting quiet when the solos are, the rhythm section getting quiet when the soloists start to happen. And I don't know if they got quiet because he was going to play and he's non-electrical, but they didn't for Miles, although he was definitely mic'd up for the reverb effects. But then the brew part of Bitches Brew, Theo remastered all of this from clips of this section and that section, and over 3 days, he just chopped everything up like it was chop suey, threw it in a bag and said, I think this sounds like a good record. So is it part of when he's blending in and overdubbing that he leaves that segment, and it's 2 bars maybe, quiet? So those are the things I was listening for going, where did he chop this at? He was shuffling masters around. And then in an interview that I watched, he said Miles would occasionally send me tape cassettes from his house and go, ooh, add this one into the record. So I think that some of the quiet that happens right before the dead spot may be a mono tape cassette that was added into the master from the studio. So that's my curiosity. I'm like, man, this is beyond the musicianship. Theo, who had produced this or was the sound engineer for it, did his own work on the back end. So
I have 2 points to that. One point is, you're right, the producer was chopping and cutting and making it a little different. I don't know if you read the story or not, but John McLaughlin walked in one day to the studio and they were playing it over the speaker. John looks up and says, wow, that's cool. Who is that? And the guy says, that's your session, man. That's you guys. And he didn't even know that it was him, making it seem to me like they cut it up so much and they edited it so much that he didn't remember what he played, or he didn't remember what it was supposed to sound like, but it sounded completely different. He didn't even know it was them. So that could be, I agree with you on that point. Second point I was going to make is, and it's coming up in the slideshow, but I'll just breeze over it right now. all of this was improvised except for the chord lines that Miles handed out. So maybe Wayne didn't know that Miles was ready for him to solo, and Miles is focused on something else going over here, and the percussion comes down and then turns to Wayne and says, hey, buddy, you're up. I don't know, maybe. And then Wayne says, oh, shoot, yeah, it's my turn to solo. And it takes him a couple of bars to get ready.
Miles is pointing at me. Okay, I'll jump in. I'm not sure where we were at yet because I got the chords in front of me, but okay. So then I pick up, and the rhythm section's probably going, should we stop?
Is the song over?
Where are we at? What's Miles doing? So you're spot on to that. You never know. Man, good point on that.
I will. I just want to make one more point about your clip. But the electric piano on that particular song comes from an artist we covered, number 13, Larry Young, on the electric piano on the center channel. Chick Corea's playing on the right channel. Larry Young's playing on the center channel, and Joe Zawinul is playing on the left channel. So we get 3 great piano players, electric piano players, playing on Spanish key.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You guys are pretty impressive,
Well, I see the name Larry Young, and I remember the album, and I remember how excited we were to be listening to Unity at week 13, and how it kind of shook us up from the very beginning. So, and then you see that name on the chart, and you think, oh, hey, yeah, let's really concentrate and listen to see what Larry's doing. So,
you touched on that. Zawinul,
Yeah.
Corea,
yeah,
and Larry Young.
Uh-huh.
Banger, 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 all on different channels, but all on one album. What a phenomenal feat. And again, it's Miles. He puts together the right people to make the right sounds. Dad, you had one more that you wanted to hear, and I'm gonna give it to you tonight.
Yeah.
Hey, okay. I like Sanctuary. Was that number 6, track number 6? Let's start that at 320. You guys are smiling. You're into it.
Grinning ear to ear. Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on. What do you guys think of that? There's Miles. And I don't know if Miles at his best, but that's Miles coming through, and the electric keyboard, and yeah.
Well, I like Sanctuary because it does not feature John McLaughlin and Benny Maupin. So you get a totally different kind of groove. You get kind of a different sound. I hate to make the comparison, but I kept thinking all week while I was listening to this might as well have been a Mahavishnu album. With John McLaughlin on there, and the way that he plays, there's just a lot of similarities between Mahavishnu Orchestra and Scooby Doo.
He does. John always did kind of take front and center.
Yeah,
he knew that he was playing, and that was what we thought about Intermounting Flame when we did that. Man, he just dominated, and there's a lot of that on this. So I for the same reason, I appreciated Sanctuary. What I loved about the clip, Dad, is that there's a moment when the electric piano does what I've heard Larry Young do. Just and so it's the texture that he provides with the electric that comes through very clean, and it has an organ sound to it, which is what I really loved.
Well, it's a completely different sounding tune than the rest of the album almost.
Dad, why you? We started laughing because we loved it, but
Well, that's the point, Matt. Whereas a completely different sound, it was much softer. I think I used the word melodious a lot, but there was a lot of the tone, the melodious tone of it, the flow, the smoothness, the exactitude of Miles playing. It was just impeccable, but it was a quieter, softer kind of piece.
Almost if they should have put it in the middle of the album as almost a break.
Mm-hmm.
Instead they put it at the very end,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sanctuary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spanish Key was last, right?
Feo.
Feo. Well, Feo was 7th only when they remastered it in 1999.
Yeah.
Because on my piece, that was number 2 behind Bitches Brew.
Mm. Well, on the album, I'm not sure where you were listening to it at. If it was what I downloaded for you, they did it in alphabetical order, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And on the actual album, there was Pharaoh's Dance, Bitches Brew, Spanish Key, John McLaughlin, Miles runs the Voodoo Down, and then Sanctuary, and then Feo was the last in 99.
Yeah.
And that was my mistake, downloading your stuff and not paying attention to
It's okay.
Miracle on the album. Just
I got it.
Yeah, he's got the music. That's really all that counts. And I will make one more point that what I did read, and this is not on the slideshow, but that Miles Runs the Voodoo Down is the only song that they did not touch. Miles said, "Leave it alone. That's how I want it." So I found that pretty cool too. They let the producers cut and paste and copy and do everything else to the other songs, but he said, "Nope, leave this one just like it is." So and I think it fits. You know what I mean? It fits the rest of the album just fine. It's not too different. What do you think?
I think so too, because that would have been one of my picks to play a piece from that.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, I liked it.
All right, great picks. All right, here we go. Just like I've said for the last 91 weeks, whatever you do it to jazz. It still blows me away. We're in the top 10. And I'm still just as excited today as I was 91 weeks ago. Whatever you do it to jazz. I did put a picture of the album artwork up there. The artwork done by Malty Clarwine or Clarween. I really, really dig the artwork. It's expressive. It's dark. It's Dad, what do you think?
Okay. Oh, I like it. The color, the flames, the moisture on the person's face, sweat coming out.
Yep.
And the clouds, that's clouds, ominous, impending storm.
I thought it was a mountain, to be honest with you, until you said that.
I bet in the artist's mind, there's a brew. The storm's a brewing, and it's going to be a bitch. It's a bitch's brew heading this way.
Yeah.
Yep. You're
getting a chuckle out of that, aren't you, Matt?
I am. I love this album, though. Scooby-Doo. I mean, this is a great album. Let's move on to the next slide. Jazz style for the day. Has nothing to do with tonight's album, but hard bop. Hard bop because we're going in alphabetical order off the wiki page. Incorporated influences from rhythm and blues, gospel music, and blues music, especially in saxophone and piano playing. I've covered hard bop artists before.
Clifford Brown.
Clifford Brown. There you go. Dizzy
Gillespie, 52nd Street theme.
Yeah. Yep. Hard bop for sure. All right. Cool. Next slide. Where you can get it. Of course, this album is available on all the major streaming platforms. We would prefer that you go out to your local record store, buy a brand new copy of Scooby-Doo, and buy local.
You can say B Brew.
I could say Witch's Brew.
Yes. So what Matt's saying is go buy Bitch's Brew at your local store.
Yep, do that.
because he can't say it.
Nope, not going to say it. I did put a quote at the bottom of that slide, though. A legend is an old man with a cane, known for what he used to do. I'm still doing it.
That is really a very cool outlook, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very cool disposition.
I mean, it's classic Miles Davis. He always had an attitude. I don't think he wanted to be known as a legend. He wanted to be known as a rock star.
Right?
He'd rather burn out than fade away. I think is what I'm saying. So I don't know. I just love the quote. A legend is an old man with a cane, known for what he used to do. I'm still doing it, so I don't need the cane, and I'm not a legend yet. All right, next slide. This year in history, 1969. It's a good year. 1969, the first 747 jumbo jet flew out of the state of Washington. I found that interesting because you think about airplanes, been around for 100 years now, and man, it took till 1969 to get the first 747 jumbo jet. Apollo 11 takes off from Cape Canaveral. We all know the story of Apollo 11. So I don't know. I just found that very, very interesting. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
Premieres on CBS in 1969. Besides Snoopy, Scooby-Doo's my next favorite, by the way, just so everyone knows. And I love the original Scooby-Doo. You could kick Scrappy to the curb.
I'm just going to ask you that. What's your thoughts on Scrappy? Scrap it all.
Yep, kick him to the curb. Also premiering on television, Sesame Street premieres on the National Education Television Channel, come to be known as PBS later. But Sesame Street premieres on National Education Television.
I love Oscar the Grouch. Oscar's one of the best ever.
I like Cookie Monster myself, but all right. Jennifer Aniston, Mariah Carey, and David Boreanaz were born in 1969. Of course, Jennifer Aniston from Friends and movies with many, many superstars. Mariah Carey, of course, she's a very famous singer. David Boreanaz played in my favorite TV show called SEAL Team. So he's a good actor. I like him. Also, in 1969, Karma, Bill Evans' Quiet Now, and Joe Harriet, Don't Know albums were released. Those are all three jazz albums, of course. Two of them we had covered. We have not covered Bill Evans' Quiet Now.
Purple.
I just had to highlight Karma. That album hit us all three so hard. I loved it so much. It's just one of those. This is one of those ones I don't mind ever listening to Karma, ever, never.
Yeah.
So, okay, so those are the albums that were released. Some jazz musicians were born this year. Roy Hargrove. I knew that would get to you, Drew, because you and I are both Roy Hargrove fans, but you're a very, very big Roy Hargrove fan. Joshua Redmond and Dwayne Eubanks, who is also a trumpet flugelhorn player, was born in 1969. Now, I've come to a greater appreciation for Joshua Redmond. I'm of course reading Playing the Changes. There's a whole just about chapter. Their chapters are long in that book, anyways, but there's a whole chapter on Redmond's kind of coming of age and how that whole Rat Pack came up together. So I've got a newfound respect for Joshua Redmond. So, yeah, this year in history. Anything else to add?
It was a great year.
Kind of the year before you were born.
The year before I was born, yeah. You were in Korea?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
No, I was in Korea 70, 71.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because you didn't change my diapers. I got it now.
But I do like bacon.
You still like bacon. All right, moving on to the next slide. The timeline slide. It's hard to put all the information in the dash between the middle. So 1926, Miles was born. These are just a few highlights that I'm just highlighting. 44 to 48 were the bebop years he spent in New York. He had the hard bop era from 49 to 55, hard bop and heroin. There's no denying it. He admits it, that he struggled with heroin for a long, long, long time. He moved back home to kick it, lived with his dad for a while to kick the addiction. then he came back to New York to really just kind of, he was clean and sober. He felt good. He came back to New York to work it all out. So the Electric Period, this album was released between 68 and 75 was Miles's Electric Period. And of course, this album was recorded in 69, released in 70. So then in 1991, Miles passes away. Again, there's so much information on Miles. It's hard to really not include all that stuff in the middle between the born and the death. So I just highlighted a few. All right, let's move on to the information slide, and we will get done with my portion of the slideshow for tonight. Some of the influences, and we've talked about Joseph Gustat before, but Joseph was Miles's private instructor. Clark Terry was a big influence on Miles, and believe it or not, I was going to mention it during our clips, but Miles plays with no vibrato, and it was Clark Terry that said, "Hey, lose the vibrato, play straight," and it probably really helped Miles. Yeah. So and plus I get to mention Clark Terry, so I'm not mad at that either. But one of the other influences that I was reading about is Ahmad Jamal. You know, even though they didn't play together, and they might have, but whatever. But Ahmad was a big influence on Miles. He used to love to go listen to Ahmad play. He hired his musicians, said, "Hey, you go listen to Ahmad play, and then let's play like Ahmad plays." So just a big influence. Yeah. All right. As far as discography goes, Miles has 60 studio CDs. He's got 46 compilations, 39 live. You know, this is a whole. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of music to consume. I'm still on my John Coltrane journey, but hopefully next year I'll get to do the complete Miles Davis, every single album. One right after the other. I'd love to be able to do that. So maybe that'd be my goal next year, is to do all of Miles after I finish with Coltrane this year. The genre, you could just about list any genre that you wanted to from Miles Davis, but the three that I got listed: bebop, hard bop, and fusion jazz. And of course, Witch's Brew is definitely fusion jazz. No 6 Degrees tonight because we are talking about Miles Davis. So yeah, that's it.
Kind of right there. Bang.
Right there. Few facts about Miles Davis. Miles did study at Juilliard. Known fact. I mean, something to highlight about Miles. Collaborations aplenty. You pretty much. I know it's funny because we do the 6 Degrees of Miles, but there's a big selection of people that didn't play with him, but he played with a lot of people. So Wayne Shorter played with Wayne a lot. So yeah. I don't know. I just found it interesting. I was looking at the wiki page of who he played with. Then you go onto his site for the collaborations, and you just can scroll through the names after names after names of people that he played with. And you're just like, wow, he definitely was an influence on those people. I mean, to get to work with Miles, or to ask to work with Miles, or to ask Miles to work with you, one of the two, it's just amazing. Just amazing.
Cannonball Adderley.
Oh, Cannonball.
You start looking at some of those names, and collaborations plenty. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because none of the websites that I found listed sidemen, Miles as a sideman, because he only did 2 albums as a side, and Cannonballs was one of them. So,
and of course you got to think about it. Why was it called the First Great Quintet and the Second Great Quintet? How many of those musicians like Herbie, Chick Corea went on? Mm-hmm. They were established before, but then they really blew up after spending time with Miles.
Yeah, that's right, for sure.
They were probably on their own path. I would always say that. They probably were.
They would have made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not as big.
With Miles's help, it may have been a little easier.
Yeah.
Okay. At the age of 12, he told his dad, music is the most important thing to me in my life. So he knew at an early age that he wanted to play music. I found it interesting that he declined Duke Ellington's offer to join the orchestra. And I just put that in there as a fact, but he turned down Duke Ellington, and so many musicians of his time period would have probably jumped at the chance, would have probably given their left arm to play with Duke, and Miles turns him down.
You think maybe he would have felt restricted and without a sense of freedom to fit into Duke's style and Duke's expectations? I don't know.
Ooh, that's a good way to look at it. I didn't.
What year was that? I'm looking for that right now.
It's listed on his wiki page. 49 maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I just found it very, very interesting because you think of somebody of Duke's stature walking up to you and saying, "Hey, man, you want to join my band?" And you look him in the eye. Nah, I'm good, thanks. I don't need to. Which, I mean, it turns out he didn't, but still, most musicians would have
Jumped at that opportunity.
yeah, for sure.
But I agree with Dad. I kind of wonder, would you be restricted to play?
Well, big band orchestra type. Huh?
The same stuff over and over again
Mhm.
for 5 years.
Sit still, do the same thing. Stuff's going to
Yeah.
get stale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miles wanted more freedom.
Good point.
I would play in Duke Ellington's band. I love having charts in front of me these days. Yeah, give me trumpet 3 or 4. I'm good
Yep.
with that. I love that.
Happy right there in that spot.
Well, go back to the quote. A legend is an old man with a cane known for what he used to do. I'm still doing it. I think there's some kind of a correlation there to this fact. He doesn't want to get stuck in a rut.
An old man's game.
Yeah,
He doesn't want to get stuck in an old man's game.
yeah. Just curious question.
Whereas I would like to be stuck in an old man game today. Let me play my horn. I love that, Dad. That perspective is just spot on.
Yeah. That's why we keep him on the channel.
Well, that's good. Thank you.
You
I
get-
thought it was for comic relief.
Everybody's got to have a bass guitar in their band. Steps up and plays when the band is getting off topic. I'll set y'all straight.
All right. Let's finish up the slideshow. A few facts about Britches Boo.
What? About who?
Britches Bew.
He didn't say it.
Britches Bew. It's the highest charting album for Miles Davis, and it topped the charts at number 35. In 1971, it won the Grammy for Large Jazz Ensemble, and it was the first gold record for Miles. So I found that interesting too. All the work that he had done up until 71, and this one happens to be the one that lands him the gold record. I don't know. It just blew me away. Finally, in 2025, the National Recording Registry put the album up for preservation. So it will forever and ever be preserved as one of America's greatest albums.
Yep.
And then the fact that I touched on during the clip section of the episode, this was all improvised except for the chord lines that Miles wrote for the members. And the story goes, the story that I was reading, he walks in and hands each person a sheet of paper and says, "Here's the songs we're doing, and here's the chords. You can do anything you want, but you got to play these chords." So it's almost free jazz, almost.
And Matt, he was known for that. Walking into a session going, "Here's the chords we're going to play." And that's when he moved into the modal jazz. This is the modes that we're going to play. He would go in and throw that down and say, "Where are we going with it?" I don't know. We'll find out. Which is why I think he loved to do raw recording. Start the tapes. Here's your chord charts, boys.
Okay.
Wait, what?
So again, is he the greatest trumpet player, or is he a great band leader?
Yes.
We've been around the block, but you walk in. Okay, I'll walk into the best band. I'll walk into Three Rivers Big Band and hand them a chord chart and say, "Here's the chords you can play. Play anything you want." And those musicians probably could work something out in 2 or 3 minutes and come up with something amazing. They don't need me.
But they need your name. And I think that this was one of the things that Columbia was with Miles. He had carte blanche on the studio. Miles called and said, "Hey, I want to record an album. Hey, the studio's yours." "Well, I know that so-and-so's recording." "Nope, we'll kick him out. Studio's yours. What do you want?" So he did have carte blanche to walk in there. At the time when they were saying, "Hey, you got 1 day to record, so get your stuff right, come in and hit record." "Hey, how many days you want?" "I'll take 5. Or in this case, I'll take 3 days. Just get me Theo and let him cut some stuff up later. We're going to throw it down. He can do what he wants later." And some of the music I was reading about today from In a Silent Way was also used as filler music in Bitches Brew, because they had recorded it just a few months apart.
Yep.
So I was blown away by that. In a Silent Way was definitely not the same album.
No.
Had a different flavor to it, recorded just months apart. So
all right. Of course, this is a great time for a commercial. So let me finish up here. We are using the JazzWise magazine's top 100 albums that shook the world. The list is from 2022. We are counting down from 100, currently on number 9, Miles Davis. On the 99, there's been 2 other lists. On the 99 list, this album was at number 10. On the 06 list, it was also at number 9. So I think John Newey and the team knew that this had to stay in the top 10 for all 3 lists. In my opinion, it probably could have been number 3 or 4. In my opinion, it's not my list. I'm happy where it's at on the list.
Everybody's entitled to an opinion. It could all be wrong. It is, but it could be in the top 3.
Mine's not wrong. Number 3, I'd be happy with it.
Top 5.
Okay. All right. I'll give you 5. Okay. I'll give you 5. I really enjoyed the album.
You're too easy, Matt. You're too easy, Matt.
Yeah, I know.
You're too easy.
I'm cheap too, so cheap and easy. I found it interesting because in episode 85, we talked about Ornette Coleman and the way that he did his recording with the left band and the right band. Now that was a different style of music. It's free jazz, and there's 15 people doing something all different in your ears on each side. But Miles did the same thing this year. He had the left side band and the right side band. However, I tried to do the in and out. It's almost maybe the way that they recorded it or mixed it.
Yeah.
Everything is together except the stuff that's right in the middle. So I don't know. I just found it so interesting because you start looking at the musicians and this is the left side electric piano, this is the right side electric piano. You really have to concentrate on this album. I did make that note as well. This is, you have to listen with intent. It's not casual listening. This is a double Big Mac meal here. This is not a turkey wrap and chips. This is a double Big Mac, Big Daddy meal. You got to listen to with intent. All right, that's my thoughts on the.
Dad, what were your thoughts on the album?
It was mixed. When I first started listening to it, I had real difficulty getting to the smoother tracks. It reminded me, free jazz and the hard hitting musicians, the sax, the trumpet, the mixture of it. I couldn't distinctly hear a rhythm. So I was trying to find a rhythm to it. So I was not relaxed with this. As you said, you can't relax with this. I think I'd find difficulty driving across town with that music in my ears. It would be difficult. Difficult to take a nap with this music in my ears because it would keep you stirred up. I woke up early one morning this last week and I thought, what if I put some jazz in my ears? And I thought, there's no way at 5:30 in the morning I'm going to put Bitches Brew in my ears and try to go back to sleep. So you really have to attend to it. You really have to attend to what the music is, the style, and the whole mix of instruments.
So what did you rate the album then?
Oh, you're asking for my rating.
I am now. Yeah, I want to.
Okay.
I'm gonna push this bus a little bit faster here.
Okay. Well, I rated it 9. Yeah, I rated it 9.
What?
Yeah.
I did
gave
not
it-
see that coming.
No, I didn't see it coming either.
Well, after listening to this afternoon, I listened to the whole thing all the way through,
Okay.
and I struggled until I heard some of the later tracks, and then I could pick up a rhythm and a beat, and the percussion. So that's why I jacked my score up from actually an 8.5 to a 9. So, I mean, think about the creativity, the improv going on, the history, the historical setting of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a 9. You probably anticipated what? I'd give it a 6 or something.
I might have said a 7. I might have
would have
gone to an 8, but I didn't. An 8.5. You'd have been pushing me if I had to guess what your score was, because I'd have said probably 7.5, or just because, again, we don't know what we really did like. When we started this, jazz was jazz. It was somewhere out there in left field. But as we've gotten settled into the things that we really love, and Matt and I will probably in the next couple of weeks talk about some random albums that stand out to us. Something else will always be something that I go to. Blues and the Abstract Truth, Black Codes from the Underground. You start naming these albums, EST, and you're going, man, I'm going to turn on Larry Young's Unity again, and I'm going to listen to some of the suggestions. What's news coming up here in just a moment? I may go to I may not Cecil Taylor, but then I was thinking about Taylor Made. From the new album. So there's so much great jazz, but we found our groove in jazz music. And Bitches Brew takes you outside. It really does. So that's why I was blown away at a 9.
You know, Drew, you and I had the chance to discuss it on our personal journey. He wasn't in our discussions. So I think it's a great score. I don't think you had to talk me into my score.
No.
But I want to hear your thoughts on the album before I tell my score. Well,
it's an interesting album when I take the approach of it now 91 weeks into jazz. He's a trumpeter, and so I'm automatically going to lean towards I really love Miles Davis. It's taken me 91 weeks to get to the respect level that I would have for him. You bring in his history, you bring in where he's been, who he's played with, and all these other things, and then you realize that he's been pushing the boundaries since he came into music. He always has been. So to me, Bitches Brew was really a wonderful album of the versatility. Now, we've also talked about all of the other great jazz fusion or rock fusion bands along the way. And this note came almost out of the magazine. This week's album, Miles put all of his chips on the table, and he was backing 100% the future of where jazz was moving. And although this is not the first jazz rock album, it is a validation of where jazz was moving as Miles adopted the electric tone colors and rhythms of rock music, inspired largely by Jimi Hendrix. 1970, when the album was released, it was clear that jazz rock represented the way ahead because Miles said so. And that was the third paragraph in the magazine, and I love that. And I think it's important to note that he continued to change. Even after his break coming up here in the next few years, when he came back in the 80s and did some things that just blew people away. So I think it was the shift in this direction that made it interesting for me. I love the album. Matt, I have it written down that I actually put this album at An 8. Is that correct?
I don't know. Let me go check the Unconnoisseur website real quick.
www.theunconnoisseur.com is where you can find our ratings page, the 1999 ratings page, as well as the 06. But our personal ratings are on that page, as well as some great information about jazz history and jazz genres of the time. Have you opened that page up yet? And since I got you and he's opening it, please take a moment to hit like and that subscribe button. That way, and then notification button, so you get notified each week when the new episode drops. You can listen to this buffoonery as it happens.
That is correct. On the website,
You gave it an 8.
Our ratings, you gave it an 8. So
Matt,
okay.
What about you?
Okay, well, I like reading the reviews of what normal average jazz listeners think. And so I found a Reddit page for this particular album and read some of the reviews. Again, it's a big double Big Mac lunch. It's not something that you're just going to turn on Sunday morning and cook breakfast to. It's not that kind of music. They asked if you'd listen to it while you were high or while you were on a different, maybe kind of harder drug.
I'm glad I didn't.
I'm glad I didn't either, because I think it would have been freaky, because it even listening to it without being intoxicated, it kind of freaks you out the way the music moves around within your headphones. So I gave this album a 9 this week, and I found it interesting that I finally rated one a little higher than you did. And it happened to be a Miles Davis album, because again, we weren't huge Miles Davis fans before this started. Some of the other things I wrote in my notes from this week, we also were recording Birth of the Cool on the YouTube channel the week that we were listening to Witch's Rue. So we had a lot of Miles in our ear that whole week, because Birth of the Cool, what an amazing album in the first place. But then you throw in this album that you have to listen to talk about. It's a lot of Miles to very different styles of Miles. So I found it fun to pick out the instruments this week, especially Wayne and Benny Maupin on the bass clarinet. It met all of my criteria. I just couldn't go to a full 10. The length of the songs really kind of it ticks me off, because as they quiet down, you think, okay, here comes the end of the tune. And then all of a sudden it builds back up again. You got another 11 minutes or something on the tune, and you're like, it's not over yet. Yeah. But the craftsmanship is definitely there. The awareness, the creativity, the creativity is off the charts, but the spirit, and then how it made me feel, the emotion for me.
Yeah.
Solid 9.
All right. Well, we're gonna do something. I need Dad to talk about what's new. And as you finish what's new, we need you to tell us what's new. Matt, I think you and I can cut our week in music.
Yep.
I'm going to hand that to Dad. So right now, Old Man New Music. What's new, Daddy-O?
Very good. Well, if you look in album cover and remember what the magazine talks about, what's in a title for Miles's track. What's in a title? Here we got 3 of us are from Houston, and Ruben is not. Is that cool? That is so very cool.
It just dawned on me that there are 4 stripes on the cover here. 3 of them are that lime green, and 1 of them is what?
It's not.
It's not.
Yeah. So where's Ruben from? He's a bass player from the Virgin Islands. And so he's not from Houston.
No.
And the way Walter Smith III came up with that, somebody was asking him about the album itself. And his response was, well, really factually, 3 of us are from Houston, and we played and studied and been together in Houston, but Ruben's not. And he said, you know what? That would make a good title for this album. I mean, isn't that crazy? So
when did this come out?
Oh, yeah, let's move right along. September 2024. And it was on a Blue Note record label, which itself is pretty impressive. It's a 46, 47 roughly minute album. Um, and I think our listeners would really appreciate hearing this album and the creativity that's in the album. It is a um, jazz album, but its style is post bop, modern creative. It's jazz instrument, and it's straight ahead jazz. Now I don't know what straight ahead jazz is. I have an idea of what straight ahead jazz is. Basically, I guess it would be just playing jazz. So, yeah, that's the album, new album.
And just so I'm clear, Walter Smith III, who is the name on the album, he's the piano player.
Uh, no, I think he's a sax player.
He's sax player. Okay.
No, he's a sax player. I should know that straight up.
I didn't mean to throw it to,
No,
throw you under the bus. Nope. Yeah, you're right. He is. He's tenor sax player.
He's a sax player.
Yep. Eric Harland on the drums, Jason Moran on the piano, and then that guy who's not from. He's not
Ruben
from.
is not.
He's not. He's the bass player.
He's
Ruben
basically
Rogers.
he's basically playing homage to his hometown. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Houston.
Man, I gotta say, there's a lot of great music to come from Texas. You know, you got Stevie Ray Vaughan, Roy Hargrove.
Uh huh.
And
Did you
Walter
by any
Smith
chance-
III.
Did you by any chance listen to the album, Drew?
3 times.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say I couldn't put it down.
It is really good, isn't
Yeah.
That's a great
Yeah.
pick.
it? Yeah.
I made a few notes, if I may. Can I
Me
just?
too.
Okay. I found it dark and rich, almost like a hot dark chocolate. Is what I wrote. The sound was very smooth, and the album is well recorded. You can hear everything crystal clear. So, those are my notes. I just love the compilations, the way that they come together as a group. Is a banging album. It's going to take second place next to Gravity in my book.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a good mark right there.
That is a
Excellent.
good mark. Thanks, Dad, for doing what's new. Now, the floor is yours. Please tell us and all of our listeners what your journey is about to take you on.
Okay. About
If you don't mind.
I don't mind. In fact, it's always good having others with you while you're walking this journey. 3 weeks or so ago, I had an endoscopy, and with a note from the doctor, because he took a biopsy and determined that I have esophageal cancer, and the cancer is located right at the base of my esophagus, right where it connects to the stomach. And so I had a meeting with an oncologist shortly after the biopsy came out. The oncologist gave us a little bit of information, and though he spent considerable time with us, just the coolest guy, Dr. Gonzalez. He is one fantastic guy. He is younger than you guys. He's about the same age. Well, his next birthday, he'll be 50. So that tells you he's been practicing for nigh on to 14 years. And I have the utmost of confidence in him, his ability, his knowledge, and his track record is good. So anyway, sorry to get sidetracked with Dr. Gonzalez, but so next steps is to get a port put in either my right side or my left side, upper chest, that will they'll be able to feed chemo into my system to gradually decrease the size of the tumor. I have one treatment a week for 4 weeks, take a break. Then I go one treatment a week for another 4 weeks. Following that will be surgery. I told your brother Mustafa that I had a PET scan, and the PET scan had to be from my forehead down to my knees. And your brother Mustafa said, I didn't know your esophagus was that long.
What a knucklehead.
I know.
I love that, man.
Such a knucklehead.
So the PET scan that I had showed indication that there's no other place in my body from the PET scan, no lymph nodes active, no liver, no lung problem. It's located right in my esophagus, which is very good news. Doc said I'm at stage 3. He said if you were at stage 4, we would be having a completely different conversation. We would be talking months, not cure. We would have a different protocol. And basically we'd be saying sayonara, so long, farewell.
And this is, I was looking at this again. Is it because it hasn't hit lymph nodes? There's stage 3A, which is it hits some, and then stage 3B, which would have been like a half a dozen and more. But it hasn't hit lymph nodes.
No.
So caught early.
Yes. Doc said it's probably been there 6 months, maybe at the most. So
did he say how many years the screws have been loose on your head? I know we're having a serious moment here, so I'm sorry.
Well, they found nothing in my head when they did the PET scan.
I'm sure there was nothing there.
Mom's hand.
Yeah.
He'd be more polite if it was Mom's hands.
Yeah, you're right. No, he's Mom's alter ego.
Ooh.
So tomorrow I have a pre-treatment consult with a nurse practitioner, I think, and she'll give us much more information, talk about nutrition, talk about energy level, talk about what the treatment will be, the chemo. She'll identify what that is. And then Wednesday, I'm scheduled for the first treatment.
Okay.
My anticipation is from that point on, my energy level will be sapped. And so there's a possibility that I won't be able to join you for the next several weeks. I'm anticipating that if I get the treatment Wednesday, rest on Saturday, Sunday, then I might be able to join the whole episode or part of the episode, but that's yet to be determined. If I don't get the port put in tomorrow, then I talked to one of the nurses who kind of supervises the whole schedule. She said likely they will give you part of the treatment intravenously, but not in a port. So I have to have it through my arm or something. And each treatment could take as much as 4.5 hours to process. So Wednesday afternoons, I'll be pretty well tied up. And I'm anticipating I'm going to have my hearing aids in. I'm going to be listening to a lot of jazz. I'm going to be listening to jazz.
Matt needs to get you set up on playlists, and we will do a playlist for Dad on YouTube or Spotify. That way we can pick some albums for you to listen to. As I would say, as the middle son, not even his middle son. Bitches Brew is not the album to go out on.
No.
So, for the next few weeks and months, don't go back to Bitches Brew.
No,
We'll send you some playlists to listen to that we think would help ease that.
Okay. Thank you.
So we've already talked about this, all three of us, but what we're planning on doing, what Drew and I are planning on doing, you've been on 58 episodes. We do not want to finish the journey without you.
Not going to do it.
What we decided was that we will go down to number 2. and we want you to join us for the last two, whether it's 10 weeks from now or 12 weeks from now or 20 weeks
16
from now.
weeks. Who cares?
Yeah.
We will finish this.
Finish the journey
with you.
together.
I appreciate that.
So we'll finish the countdown to number 3. We'll put that on pause and make up either our own list. I think we talked about doing our own list of top 10s or whatever. And Drew and I can muddle
Trust
through.
us when we tell you we got plenty of jazz to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But then we want you to finish the journey with us once you're feeling better.
Thank you.
So you can do number 2 and number 1.
Okay.
Would hate, for you to do 58 episodes and then not get the finish.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be right. So what we're telling you guys is we're gonna put it on pause for a while after we get to number 3.
Good. Let me say to end this, I thank God, truly do, that it was caught when it was, and the pastor, 2 pastors and an elder prayed over me, and so the PET scan it showed, again, no other location, so it was contained right in my esophagus, and I attribute that to healing itself. And the rest of the healing is going to come through the process and through the surgery. So I'm good to go. I read something just recently from a friend had penned this. You can't steal my joy. And his conclusion is joy is where God's will and God's love meet. So there's a sense of, sounds kind of weird, but there's a sense of joy through this whole process because I know I'm in God's will, and I know that God loves me, and I know so many other people love me. They even laugh with me or at me, whatever it is. You're not laughing at me, right? You're just laughing.
Yeah. We're laughing with you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about who gets to eat your portion of biscuits and gravy. I'll take that responsibility this time.
Oh, yes.
This time, Drew, I'll take it this time.
That's a heavy burden to carry.
Heavy burden to
That's a
carry.
heavy burden.
You guys are so
He is-
sacrificial.
Eat his biscuits and gravy.
No wonder I love you guys
I'll
so
take
much.
the side of bacon for you. That's all right.
It's got to be crispy.
Extra crispy, extra thick.
Yeah.
Well, so our prayers go to you and all
Thank
of
you.
y'all that are watching. Today is actually October the 20th, and that means on the 22nd he will be going in. This episode will not be out until the 28th of October. So by then he will have already, Dad will have already had his first round of chemo. So we don't know. We're going to improvise what next week looks like. More than likely, he's not there. With that being said, Dad, this would have probably been a pretty good album for you to dig into this week in the Event Hub. Because we got none other than the Angry Man of Jazz, a man who I have grown deeply fond of and listening to his music. This is none other than Charles Mingus. Mingus, This came out on Columbia, both LP and CD, and it was recorded the year of jazz, 1959.
1959.
It became quickly one of my most favorite albums. So dig into this. It's got Charles Mingus, of course, on the bass, Jimmy Knepper, Willie Dennis, John Handy on the alto sax, tenor sax, and clarinet. And it's too far away from me. Shafi Hadi on alto and tenor sax, and Booker Irvin on tenor sax, Horace Parlin on piano, and Danny Richmond. It is Danny Richmond. Yeah, it all runs together.
Drums.
1959 on drums. So dig into Charles Mingus. All right. Well, thank y'all for staying with us through this whole episode, but we needed to get Dad's input on where he will be, what's going on, and we'll refer back to this segment in the future just to remind people. As we get a chance, we will get an update from the old man. Whether we do it here on on the channel, or whether we just give you a news flash at the beginning of every episode, we will and have always been in contact with you. So for all of y'all following, thanks so much. Prayers, please. And until next week.
And Mingus, baby.
Mingus. Wow.
Mingus, another good one. And so I would say this in the in the immortal words of Robert Glasper: "F your feelings, F cancer." That's what I would
F
say.
cancer.
So
There you go.
there we go. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.